If you want your video to actually be clicked, if you want your thumbnails to actually look professional, if you want to make money as a thumbnail designer, if you want to make money as a YouTuber, you need to watch this video because I'm going to show you exactly how this thumbnail was made from A, B, C, D to Z. How we got the pixelated text, how we got the little background stuff, how we cut out my face, how we changed the eyes, how we got these graphics. Everything is going to be fully exposed for you, the viewer, because I am just that much of a good guy. So without further ado, we're going to start by going over to the file, new, and we're going to create a new canvas. Every thumbnail you make needs to be 1920 by 1080 pixels. Create. All right, now what we're gonna do, we're not gonna take any new pictures. We're just gonna take a picture from that previous recording and find the best frame and use that. Let's go back to the first part of this video and see what we can find. Okay, so with the first part of this video, I'm just gonna take the best parts that we can turn into a thumbnail. Let's see what we can find here.
One eternity later.
The following. We're gonna screenshot it while it's full screen. And once we screenshotted it, all right, this is the start of our thumbnail. Just a picture. So far, pretty simple, right? Again, I'm gonna assume you're not pirating Photoshop. If you are pirating Photoshop, just click off of the video because there's some tools in Photoshop that you need to make professional thumbnails that's only available on the paid one, and that's the AI stuff. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna click on the remove background button, and from here, how this works is we're gonna duplicate it, Command J, and now we have a foreground and a background. Now for every thumbnail, the most, bro, the smoke detector is going off. Hold on. All right. So every single thumbnail is composed of two primary elements, the foreground and the background. Every object that you have, you need to differentiate. Is it in the foreground or is it in the background? Now, you need to really make sure every single object you have is there for a reason and is there either as a foreground or a background. Otherwise, your thumbnail is bad. What a lot of people will do is they'll just completely negate this and make a really bad thumbnail. It's all about the lighting. The entire thumbnail, it's 100% about the lighting. All right, now that we have the two different layers separated, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go down here and go to exposure and lower the exposure for the backgrounds. Like around this should be good. Already, this focal point stands out and this background is in the background. Now, you'll see we still have this behind. So what we want to do is we want to just select this whole situation here and generate it out. Now, the reason is we want to be able to move the foreground around. Otherwise, it's just going to be kind of messed up. So we're going to choose the best image. Let's go with this. Great. Now we can move this around over here, over here. We're just going to keep it here for now. I think we want to make it a little bigger though. Great. Next is we start adding the text. Now, this is sort of what our sketch is. Usually you're supposed to sketch the thumbnail before you make it, but we're already following this. But yeah, I'm showing you how to do the technicals, not how to do the like sketching. Everyone can do the sketching. Okay, so now that we removed the background, we're just going to make myself bigger. And what I think we need to do next is, of course, add the text. So the text is obviously about the actual video that we're watching. What is this video about? Well, this video here is about how to make a thumbnail, obviously. So we're gonna make a hook / text based on that. Now the hook can never be similar to the actual title. It has to add to the title. So every YouTube video is composed of 3 main hooks: the title, the text on the thumbnail, and the first line of text in the description. These 3 pieces of text all have to be different. But anyways, right now we're only going to focus on this. So let's say the title of this video is going to be how to make a thumbnail. Well, for the thumbnail, it can't be how to make a thumbnail because we already said that. We're going to kind of accentuate one of the most important points of it while making it stand out. So it's going to be something like $200 thumbnail. That sounds, very nice. Who doesn't want to make $200 thumbnails? So what we're going to do is we're going to add now behind the main layer. We can even name this me BG removed. Now in front of, and we'll just kind of put all this in a folder called BG. Now behind me, we're going to add some text. We're going to call it $200 thumbnails. And boom. Okay, great. And now good thing that we cut me out because we can kind of move me depending on where we want me to be. $200 thumbnails. Okay, well, how do we make the text fancy like this? Well, I'm going to show you. So now to make the text fancy, what we're going to do is we're going to double click. Immediately we get all of these options, which we're going to change. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some bevel and emboss, contour, some outer glow. We're going to make that like black, lower the opacity a little bit. And as well as that, we could sometimes add some pattern overlay. The pattern overlay, when we do add it, we just add it a little bit. For here, we're not adding it though. What we do want to add is some gradient overlay. So I already have this automatically set up, but I'll just show you by deleting what I have. So you're going to double click on the bottom and choose the color white. Then you're going to double click on the bottom here and choose like a darker shade of whites. And usually, there's a branding color associated with every thumbnail. I like to do yellow because yellow stands out the most compared to every other color. You either want it to be yellow or like green. Red is nice aesthetically, but yellow stands out the most. So we're going to do white and like a darker shade of yellow. Great. Now, if you can check with your eyeballs, you'll see there's a gradient ramp. It goes from yellow to white. We're just going to kind of flip this though. It's going to start like this. It's going to start from whites, then go to dark yellow. Great. Now, this isn't it, because what we also want to do is we also want to take a specific piece of text and make it stand out, like with this kind of yellowish situation here, this yellow box. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer, but underneath this, go to the taskbar, select the rectangle, and create a rectangle behind what you want to accentuate. Now, usually it would not be the first line of text. So it would be like 200, like so. But it kind of looks weird as the first line of text. But if it's the second line of text here, you'll see it's kind of a big word. Like all that as yellow is kind of weird. But we'll try it out. A lot of it's like experimenting. This is why you want to sketch it out beforehand. Because if you're not like really comfortable with Photoshop, it's going to take you a long time to kind of undo those changes. And now what we can do is we can just try it like this. and we know what it looks like. This looks great, but obviously that's not the final product. So we're gonna undo those changes to the text, duplicate the text, remove the text from one side, and just keep it as 200, and remove the text from the other side and keep it as thumbnails. And that way, we have two different lines of text. We have the line of text that's the 200, and the line of text that's the thumbnails. We need it to be two different lines, because that way we can specifically change the gradient overlay for one of them and not the other. So for this, what we're going to do is we're going to change this to black, change this to a darker shade of black. I mean a lighter shade of black, like so. I'm gonna make the opacity 100%. It's not that visible, so I'm gonna make it a little lighter, the thing here. And I like to invert it so that it's more like this. It's a little too white now. Boom. Okay, already this looks kind of nice, but we are kind of missing something. And that would be the way that we do the actual box. So this box is very basic. It's very plain. What we want to do is we want to add a little bit more effects to that box as well. So what we'll do is we'll double click again, and we're going to add some bevel, some contour. And with the bevel, I'm not going to spend my time going over the settings right now because it takes too much time, but you can kind of just play around with it and read something online about how it works. But yeah, once you have that with the bevel, emboss, contour, make sure it's at inner bevel, and you have all this stuff figured out. You want to go to the outer glow and make sure you add an outer glow. What you also want to do is you want to add a little gradient again with the color yellow, and you're going to choose the brightest yellow you physically humanly can find. And then what I like to do is I like to do like the color orange, like a very lightish orange, like so. And then we're going to flip it again like this, just like a little bit of orange on the bottom end of that. Now that's a little bit too orange, it's a little too flamboyant, so we're just going to double click the gradient overlay. You can mess with the opacity of this. So this is 0 opacity. We're going to bring it to like here. And for the glow on the thumbnails, we have it from before. We're just going to take that glow, and instead of making it black, we're going to make it like a orange yellow glow, because you don't want it to blend in actually. Okay, already we're starting to see some character. Already we're starting to see this look nice. But we're kind of still missing one of the most important parts of a thumbnail, and that is the gradient ramps. Now, press G to open up gradient ramps, or you can kind of choose it from here. Click on it, and between the background and the foreground, what you're going to do is you're going to add more levels of separation. I would say 90% of a thumbnail's value comes from how you utilize gradient ramps. So we're just going to take it and drag it like this, and lower the opacity depending on how we feel. We're going to bring it from the top to the bottom, add another one from bottom to the top. This one is going to be lower. Add one from left to right. This one's going to be lower opacity. And I can see we'll add one from here as well. These 4 gradient ramps already add so much more dimension to the thumbnail. Like so much more dimension. And if you look at this thumbnail, if we didn't have gradient ramps, look at how ugly that is. Look at how ugly that is versus this. So that's a very important thing that we can't miss out on, these gradient ramps. Once we have the gradient ramps, once we have this, really the rest of it depends on how far you want to go and how, you know, creative you're feeling. But one thing we want to do is, you see how there's kind of like this messed up perimeter around the mask? We're just going to double click on the mask and increase the feather of it and move the edge of it. And that's how we kind of get rid of that and make it smoother. And once we have that figured out, oh, that's kind of tough. Okay. I'm just seeing now that my face is kind of cut off here. So we're just going to, oh yeah, by the way, I guess I should tell you the keybinds I'm pressing. That's B for brush. What I'm doing is I'm just increasing the visibility of myself by using the brush tool on that mask. All right, that's good enough. So with this, what we can now do is I'm going to make a copy of it. And for one of the copies I'm going to make, it's going to be a sort of a raw, nicer version of it where you can see my beautiful features. So to do that, I'm going to go here, Command J. That's the shortcut for duplication. You'll see here, it'll let you duplicate the layer. With this, you're going to go to Filter, Camera Raw Filter. And this allows you to do some very important things. What you want to do is, in your free time, learn. If you don't know about the light effects, learn how to use these. Very important. But what we're going to focus on primarily right now is the texture. Bring the texture up significantly. Before, after. Bring the clarity up a little bit, like this. It depends on, you know, what the individual thumbnail is, but bring the clarity up a little. I think for this one, we might not even need to bring it up. Maybe by like 2, 3. And with the texture and the clarity up, we can now see some more of the rough edges. It looks more real. And usually I like to play around with these settings here. I'm not going to spend my time doing that right now because I just don't have the time. But you should get comfortable with them. Now, we're not going to touch anything here, but we just added some texture and clarity to it. It already looks nicer. Press OK. Before, after. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this version of it that we duplicated, that we didn't add anything to. We're just going to hide it. And that's just going to kind of be a backup. So we're going to rename this backup me raw. And raw because we used the camera raw filter. Great. Already this looks nice. All we want to do now, double click the raw version. Again, we're going to add some bevel and emboss. And you'll see kind of it adds some more lighting to it. So I'll add the lighting sort of here. This is kind of up to your own discretion. I'll make it bigger so it's easier for you to see. I will add the bevel emboss and add it like this. Some contour as well and some outer glow. Don't do anything too zesty with the outer glow, just keep it black. Maybe if you're feeling a little bit, you know, you can make it some branding color, like maybe red or something, but generally it's just fine like that. And I think with the bevel, we added some white on the bottom, which is actually not good. So we're gonna bring it a little bit to the side here. That's too much. Great. This is nice. This adds more texture to it with the outer glow. No need for a stroke, no need for an inner shot. Sometimes you can add an inner shadow actually. That adds a little more effect to it, but I don't really touch that, to be honest. And the rest of it, it's not needed here. Then press OK. Now already, you see the difference here. You see the texture that we're giving it. This is before, after, before, after. Already like this could work as a thumbnail. It's obviously not the best, and we need to start adding some things on the left and the right, but it could work. So assuming we're gonna make it like this, similar to this thumbnail, what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to replicate this. We're gonna put the $10 and the $200 and add the kind of effects here. Let's press T for text and add some text. We're gonna write $10. And that's just gonna show we're going from $10 thumbnails to $200 thumbnails. Great, $10. And we're just gonna do the same thing with the bevel as we did previously. Double click, add some bevel, contour. With the bevel, we're just going to make it visible with the size. Contour, we can, yeah, that's fine. We can add some outer glow to it, like so. And one thing that we did for the previous image is we added some pattern overlay. And what this did is it kind of gave it a fiery effect almost. So we'll do the same. We're gonna take this pattern and sort of make it just a little bit visible, like that. And we're just gonna change the color of this to red. It looks far more vibrant now. Now, this doesn't stand out as well as this for some reason. So what we're going to do is we're gonna bring it to the back with the rest of the text. And we're going to add another gradient behind it. Press G on your keyboard or click here. And you see there's gonna be two types of gradients. These kinds of gradients that are just a line, or circular gradients that are like this. We are adding the circular gradients, and we can choose like the extent that it goes. Now this already stands out more. Before, after, before, after. And now to make this really stand out, we want the text to be, you know, glowing. We don't just want it to be black. We want it to have a little bit of a glow to it. So let's head on over here to outer glow and just give it a little bit of a glow here with that opacity. And I'm not really a fan of this font, so I'm just gonna double click, change it. Let's try, you know, this is kind of nice. It's too thick for me. Usually you want to find your font on apps, like on Google Fonts or something. These are just the default fonts to show you that you can do it with no fonts, but you usually want to get your fonts from somewhere else. So let's say we want to go from $10, and then we're just gonna bring this here. Oh, what I did is I held Option on the Mac or Alt on the computer, and I dragged it. And this kind of lets you duplicate it. But if you, for some reason, are too silly to figure that out, we're just gonna duplicate it from here. Duplicate, layer. And we can move it here. This is like a very easy way to do it. We can just do this, change the outer glow to green, lower that opacity because it's way too high. We can remove the pattern overlay And we'll actually just make this $200 because that's what the thumbnail's about. Quite like this thumbnail so far. I'm quite fond of it. However, there's some more we could add. Now, what else could we add to this? We could add the fact that it's just $10 and not 10.00. Now, one thing you'll see, if we have 200 here, we don't need $200 here. All right, this is good. I like this actually. Thumbnail secrets. What next? Well, if you look at the other thumbnail, you'll see we're still kind of missing some stuff. A lot of stuff actually. And this is actually missing some gradients, which I didn't notice. I made this thumbnail right before this video. But this is actually missing some gradients. Even like this is kind of better. What we're going to do is we're going to add some sort of cool stuff, and I'll show you the step-by-step of actually doing that. So we're going to search up, so I'm just going to do fire again. Fire PNG. Let's do something like this. We're going to download this image. So we're going to take that fire image here and drag it onto the image like so. And you'll see there's a problem that it's covering both sides of it. We only want it to cover the left side. Very simple solution. We're just going to create a mask and press subtract from mask. Subtract the left side. Like so. And we can lower the opacity of it if we desire. I think the fire should be behind the 10, so I'm going to lower it down here. Great. So now what we want to do is we're just going to kind of add something on the right side. We'll do like clouds PNG. We'll just remove the background. Okay, we're going to bring the clouds behind the 200, like so, and let's give the clouds a little bit more character. I think this is good actually. Yeah, this is good. One thing that we can do is add this sort of arrow behind me. As you're kind of on the arrow tool, what you need to do is you need to go here, click on the settings here. Under arrowheads, it'll let you set the start and the end. The end, set it to 35 pixels, 20 pixels length. Then draw it out, a straight line. To make sure it's straight, you can hold shift and it'll give you that. Make sure your arrowheads are set to end and it's giving you these options. And the stroke, it should be at 70, otherwise it's not going to work. So what we want is a sort of bent arrow behind me. And to do that, we're going to press Command T, transform, warp, arc. And like this, press enter, then press enter again. Like this, we can actually modify it. Before you change it, make sure you duplicate it and hide the previous one, because once you warp it, you can't unwarp it. And what you can do is you can duplicate the arrow by Control-J-ing it, mask out the left side. The way that you want to change the color overlay is you want to turn it into a smart object. So convert that to a smart object. You just mask over it, then you change one side of it to a color overlay, like so. You see that's one part of it. And obviously we're masking the wrong parts. So it'd be like this. And again, you want to make sure that this is a smart object. So convert to smart object. You want to add a color overlay as well. Let's make it green. This is kind of bad, the fact that it's, you know, green on green. Again, make sure you plan out your thumbnails before you make them. Otherwise, you're just going to spend a lot of extra time making sure it looks good. And I think now that we have a little glow around it, we can make it a brighter variant of yellow. But yeah, this is how you make a good thumbnail generally. You know, there's still a lot of things that can be done to improve it. Like, we can change my eyes to be brighter, which obviously is something that I don't know how you could live making a thumbnail without optimizing the eyes. So I'll do that right now just to show you how to do it in case you ever want to. So what you want to do is we're going to duplicate this. We're going to then turn it into a smart object. Now we have a picture of just me as a smart object. We're going to select the eyes using the quick selection tool. Select the eyes like this, hold shift to select both, create it as a mask, and now we're just going to go here, go to the hue saturation, up the saturation. This ups the saturation of everything, so we're going to right click and create a clipping mask like so. And once we created the clipping mask, we're only affecting the eyes. What we then want to do is we're going to change the actual color that we're affecting by going here, going blues, and changing that like so. Through this, we can actually modify the color that we're affecting and then change the saturation of only that part. Make sure that none of it's escaping my actual eyeballs. That's all for the video. Hopefully after watching this, you can make some pretty good thumbnails. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but it's kind of a full breakdown. So let me know if there's any questions. I hope I never have to make a video like this again because I don't enjoy making thumbnails. But when I do make thumbnails, they look pretty good. So yeah, if you are looking for a job and you want to make thumbnails for me, just send me a message with your portfolio. And if you are someone that wants me to make thumbnails for you, no thanks. Unless you're giving me like a, I don't know, $400 per thumbnail, I'm good. All right. Yeah, that's all.